Name one player you think the 49ers should trade this offseason. Make the case.
Okay, so initially I was like, all right, just like who's the obvious candidate? And Dre Greenlaw comes to mind because I've been saying that for a while. But then I said, stop, Rob. Stop it. Stop it. Get more creative. Let's see somebody else that the Niners might legitimately try to free up some cap space because that is their number one priority. Re-signing a lot of these free agents, and that's going to cost money. Where can they get smart on their books? And it came to me, Grant. It came to me like an epiphany. Robbie Gould. Okay. Robbie Gould. It kills me to say it. It kills me to say it. First of all, because he has a great name, Robbie. But secondly, because he's clutch. I mean, right? He adds significant value in a league where many games are decided by one possession or less, a touchdown or less. A field goal kicker who is quite accurate within 45 yards and reasonably accurate beyond that and very clutch in the playoffs is a valuable asset. He has a $6 million salary approximately going into this year. If the Niners trade him with a post-June 1 designation, they save $4 million. The other problem they're able to address here is between he and Mitch Wishnowsky, the 49ers cannot kick a touchback to save their freaking lives. And so now they could bring in a strong-legged kicker who could handle kickoffs as well. Now you can potentially put the ball into the end zone, get those touchbacks. Mitch Wishnowsky, it's harder to move on with less value in a trade. With Robbie Gould for a contender, he has to be an appealing option, much like he was to the Niners when they viewed him as a key piece in contending each year.
I like it. 40 years old, has struggled at times, clutch in the playoffs. You would save $4 million. My question is, what would you do with that $4 million? Would you use it to replace him? And in which case, do you feel like you're getting an upgrade? And if so, I'm all in.
I wouldn't upgrade at the kicker position. I would go a little more value here because I think the 49ers will be one of two things this coming season. One, either they take a little step backwards as Trey, goes through his growing pains. And at that point, do you need a top flight kicker? If you're fringe playoff level team, I would argue no, that's a luxury that you don't need. Or this offense really starts to frickin' unlock and they start to put up significant points. And they're not in as many contests decided by 3 points or fewer, in which case, again, I would make the case that you don't need that top end kicker. So I would look to go younger, stronger leg, and then I would divide that salary in half. What you're saving, that $4 million, you replace it with somebody who's closer to $1 million on the year. So you've got $3 million extra cap dollars to spend this year. Cut that in half and go $1.5 million higher in what you're willing to offer Laken Tomlinson and $1.5 million higher in what you're offering DJ Jones. Because to me, those two are much more important in bringing them back than having an elite level kicker.
I like it. You heard it, Robbie. You're on the trade block. Watch it, Buster.
It hurts me.
Brandon says, any chance Jimmy takes a pay cut in order to... I don't think so.
That's a sign of weakness.
I don't think so. It is Jimmy and his fans think he's just woefully underrated, which I appreciate about them. It is pure fantasy to think we get a second for Jimmy. That's how I feel. We will learn. I'm not ridiculing because I'm often wrong. So we will find out. And then when we find out then the ridiculing starts.
Yeah. I mean, just go for those that think it's ridiculous, just go back and look at the Carson Wentz trade, go back and look at the Sam Darnold trade. Sure. Yeah, the quarterback position, even for a mid-level quarterback, it's a supply and demand thing.
What I will say, though, is the reason I think Sam Darnold and Carson Wentz went for twos last year was those two teams, first of all, they screwed up. But they were like, why don't we can get – these two are starters. We can get starters with second-round picks. Wow. And then, Carson Wentz was fine. He wasn't good enough. Sam Darnold, not a starter. So for Jimmy to get that second-round pick, a team would have to be like, Jimmy's our starter this year. And I'm going back to, I don't see that team right now. But again, we'll have to see how things shake out.
Right. It's a numbers game, right? Between Washington, Carolina, and Pittsburgh, you got to have three starting quarterbacks there.
Trade Nick Bosa and get younger at the position. Oh, dang. Here's the thing with Nick Bosa. I would be open to trading Nick Bosa eventually, but his value isn't going down anytime soon. Even though he's gotten hurt, he's shown he can bounce back. He's young. His value will stay pretty much the same for a while. I don't think there's any urgency to trade him at this point. Trade him in 5 years, in 10 years, not now. This is the time you want him, I think.
Also fair to ask how much younger you're getting at the position. The dude's just going into his 4th year, right?
Like, if there were a dude, if you thought you could get the number 2 pick in this draft and you thought Aiden Hutchinson was as good as him, yes. But first of all, he's not. So what's the point? I don't think there's any player in this draft who's as good as Nick Bosa. So what's the point? Not this year. So this is I'm just starting to get into the draft. It's not a super great draft.
The only way you're pursuing this, in my mind, is if you're terrified of the injury question. And I just don't think that that's a realistic scenario given the way this past season played out.
One day, maybe, not at this time.